In this video, I played hardcore Minecraft for 100 days. Again. Alright, let's just get on with the video. I, of course, began this video by generating the hardcore world. How are we going to play hardcore Minecraft without a hardcore world? That's absurd. Anyway, here we are in that world, and I'm instantly regretting my decisions. Why am I making another one of these videos? Okay, I'm losing my mind. Goodbye. Alright, now that I've had a sanity check, we spawned into this world on top of a tree, so I started off by punching my way through that tree, down onto the ground, and spied some bamboo across that river there, but before I do that, I'm going to nab some of these melons, as well as some of the cocoa beans on these trees here, so that we can make some brown dyes, and have some kind of food. After that stuff was collected, I hopped in the river, swam across, and nabbed some of that bamboo. I really like having bamboo for scaffolding. It's not a very good fuel, and I also punched a chicken here because, yeah, food. And while my fist does work just fine, it is not the most efficient chicken murderification device, and you know, we're all about efficiency on this channel, so I made up a crafting table, first crafting table of the world, made up a tool, first tool, a wooden axe, so I can use that axe for purposes. And I also spotted this really funny looking cave here, so yeah, that's interesting. And I swear I did not start this fire, I did not do it. I also did not do this. This axe, it's got a mind of its own. I don't know how to control the thing. It keeps, it's waving my arm all over the place. I don't know how to control it. Jokes aside, towards the end of the day, I stumbled upon this village here and kicked a villager out of his bed and slept in it, officially ending day 1 of this video. Day 2, I kicked off by raiding the village's wheat supply because that's just something you have to do when you go into a village in Minecraft. After that, I went over to the side of the hill here and mined up some stone, which obviously turned into cobblestone. No silk touch, we're only on day 2 here. I then used that cobblestone to make myself some better tools and get to work on this time lapse. Can have some time lapses in this video. I have zero idea why I felt the need to put a weird shaped hole in the side of the hill, but I did. And now that there is a big hole in the side of the hill, I need a way to get to that hole so that I can expand it and work on it and whatnot. So I'm laying out a dirt foundation here that I can build a staircase on. It's way easier to place down dirt first and then go back and add in your stairs and your slabs and walls and everything than it is to try and kind of place them floating or with other temporary blocks that you are going to remove. So I did it this way, and you can kind of get a feel here for the kind of curve that I'm going for, just kind of naturally wrapping around the hillside, and I kind of like it. I think it's looking nice. And now that I can actually easily access this hole that I have no idea what I'm going to do with, I really have no plans for this. I probably will end up not even doing anything with it at all. Hint, hint. And I am digging this all out with a stone pickaxe, so it is taking a very long time. And speaking of doing things with a stone pickaxe, I went ahead and mined myself some coal because we're already on day 5 of this video and I still don't have any coal yet. I've started construction on our base. I'm doing things way out of order in this video. On day 5, I also had my first interaction with a mob in which I killed this creeper with an axe. So yeah, woohoo, monster hunter, yay, fireworks. While I was down in the caves, I also mined up some granite since that's what I want to use for the main building block in our base, as well as some gravel because I want to have a lot of coarse dirt in the paths on this base. That's a block I don't really use that much. And I also mined my first few bits of iron on day 5 when I've already started on a base. I'm just now getting some iron. I tell you what I'm also just now doing is finding a cave, and oh my goodness, does this cave have a lot of skeletons in it. I almost died in this cave so many times. I won't bore you with all the times, but this is one of those times. first time in the cave, step foot, almost dead. So yeah, I retreated home and almost died again. I really should not be entrusted with playing in hardcore worlds. It's not good. You know what else is not good? Is this segue to my analytics. You didn't really think you were gonna get through the whole thing without a graph being shoved in your face, did you? No, of course you didn't. And if this graph is anything to go by, I'm willing to bet you are not subscribed. And hey, you've already been here over 5 minutes now. If you'd like to stick around for more, consider doing so by hitting the big button down below. It's free, and it helps out a ton. I suddenly have the urge to create Minecraft facts videos. Oh well, I'm sure it's nothing. The next day, after sleeping the dangers away, I resumed my safer activities by crafting up some chests and clearing out my inventory because yeah, it is getting pretty full at this point. Once again, day 6, just now getting some chests and furnaces made. I'm not the fastest Minecraft player in the world, in case you haven't noticed already. And while I have some iron smelting up in those furnaces, I went ahead and cleared out all of these hay bales that were stacked around them, as well as the dirt the hay bales were sitting on because, well, they're ugly. And at this point, some of the iron had smelted up, so I could go ahead and start making some tools and armor. I started off with an iron pickaxe, an iron axe, and a shovel, plus a chest plate, at which point I ran out of iron, but here I am wearing the chest plate, really happy about it, yay! And now that the rest of the iron has finished smelting, I could go back and make some boots, leggings, and a hat to complete the full iron armor set, and yay! Protection, armor, safety, woo! Video not ending of death.
Speaking of which, it is now time to put the armor to the test in a battle with 4 skeletons, and I quickly ran away.
He's buggered off. So he has, he's scarpered.
But after running away, I quickly returned and almost died by fall damage and a creeper and had to do a little bit of a single player save. And if you don't know this trick, if you're about to die from fall damage in a single player world, you can simply save and quit title, then sign back in and it will reset your fall damage. And now I'm being chased by a spider. Awesome! But after I got myself out of that situation, I went right back to mining and got my first few bits of redstone, which is going to come in super handy because I have several farms I want to get built in this video. Oh, and also, diamonds! Oh, and glow squid, but that's not as interesting, so it doesn't get its own funny voice. You know what's also not very interesting? Watching me mine materials, so let's just cut straight to using them, shall we? And here we are, putting those blocks to use. I want to have a sort of retaining wall wrapping around the steps and path leading up to the pointless hole so that it looks a little bit built up and supported rather than just floating midair. And I'm just using plain granite here with some polished granite at the top, not really employing any gradients or anything. And I have a resource pack from Vanilla Tweaks that turns polished granite into granite bricks, and I think this looks super nice. I highly recommend checking it out if you like the look of it. And the obligatory zoom in and look at it from ground level, and you know, I'm happy with the way it's looking. It's come along. It's gonna need some more work, but it's coming along. What is not coming along, however, is the actual staircase and path that it's wrapping around, so I'm headed out on day 9 to find some spruce. I just thought I would jump in live for a second to let you know I went 2,000 blocks in the negative x direction when my coordinates are for positive x. And with that realization, I headed off in the opposite direction until I got back to our base, and then just kept going in that same direction for a while longer, but I did come across some parrots, and I really wanted to get a parrot, so I went off just punching grass like a madman to get enough seeds to tame one of these little fellas. And tame one? I did. Woohoo! Best friends forever! Yeah! Hey. And in case you can't tell, I am just brimming with enthusiasm about this. And I'm also brimming with enthusiasm about this funky shaped landmass with a great big tree on top of it, but that's for totally different reasons. I should probably talk to someone about that. Moving on. I kicked off day 13 by raiding this village's wheat supply because it is a requirement. I do not care how busy you are, you always have time to raid a village. No exceptions. And there are also no exceptions to bringing a parrot in the water because, well, they can't swim. So yeah, we had to leave this guy behind. I tried to bring him with me. I don't know why I tried to break the rule, but I did. And yep, I was proven correct. We cannot bring him with us. So goodbye. And hello to the spruce. I enjoyed the view for a few seconds before washing ashore and getting to chopping. And on my way home the next day, I was so excited to find our little bird friend still out there in the ocean so we could get him back, but then there was a bit of a melon chopping incident where he got in front of me, and yeah, we're just gonna pretend that never happened. We'll just forget he ever existed, alright? Sound good? Okay, don't mention anything. And once I got back to the base, I started planting all the saplings that I picked up while chopping down those trees, and then I put the wood from those trees to use on the staircase where I said I wanted to use the spruce wood, and I think the spruce just goes so perfectly with all the granite and polished granite. And I went for a sort of diagonal staircase design up around the corner here, and I think it looks really well.
And here's the stairs.
It's so nice just being able to zip up and down here. I love having staircases. And I also love having resources, in this case granite, because that's the main building block for our base. So after zipping up and down the staircases a few times, I went ahead and got some more granite and got to work on our staircase again, putting up this retaining wall. And I want to have it kind of be multi-layered to where it's kind of formed out around the landscape, and we'll see how that works out. Although we aren't going to get very much done in this video if I spend as much time on every little thing as I did on this landing right here. I spent probably about 5 minutes on this, which bear in mind is about half a day. So I just went way too... Anyway, I spent the rest of day 17 working on getting some of the dirt cleared off of this hillside here because I want to have this whole hill / mountain type thing we're building our base around be all stone with no dirt, and I think the stone is going to contrast very nicely with all of the granite and spruce, the warmer tones we've got going on in the rest of our base. And speaking of tones, you can probably tell that the tone of my voice has been changing, and that's because I am not enjoying reliving this experience for the voiceover of having to have dug all of this out with iron and stone tools. I complain about it in every video. Netherite, diamonds, enchantments, so good. But what's not so good are all of these trees and all this farmland and everything cluttering up this area, so I got to work clearing it all out, chopping down the trees, trampling and flooding the crops because a farm is not what I have intended for this area. So to start off, I leveled out the ground with dirt, and I'm actually going to go back and do something different other than dirt here, and I actually want to keep it at the same level, so I'm going to have to dig most of this dirt out, but for now I just filled it in to give me a foundation to work on and got started on a staircase, and I really did not go for any kind of build palette here. I just sort of threw all the blocks I had together, some granite, some cobblestones, some woods of different species, and just kind of had at it before moving over to our wall and adding in some more granite. And you can see here more what I was talking about earlier with the whole multi-layering and having it kind of protrude out, and I think it works really nicely. And once I was done with that, I gathered up some sand and smelted it up into glass so that I could make some glass bottles, and then I headed over to the water and got myself some water bottles to use to make some mud. And this is going to be actually my first time using mud. And I'm making mud because I want to have some mud brick walls incorporated into our build. This is an idea I recently saw in a Smallish Beans video, and it looked so good I just had to copy it for my own world. Anyway, moving straight on from that, the next thing I did was chop down this house here because, well, it's ugly. I don't like village houses. I have a reputation for tearing them down, and once it was torn down, I put in a very, very temporary storage setup. This is nothing very fancy, but I kind of got bored of that, so I went ahead and chopped down yet another house. And once that ugly thing was torn down, I went back over to this circular area we got going on down here below our granite wall and started on creating a sort of a border area with some stone, cobblestone, tuff, gravel, all those kind of blocks before imprisoning a villager in a dirt box, because that's just something you do in Minecraft. You also imprison villagers in trading cells, which is exactly what I plan to do with that guy. So I'm building up a little trading cell here for him, and I figured this area can be sort of a market setup with each little stall being a trading cell. And once that cell was set up, I got this guy out of his bed and into a boat to go on a ride to his new home. I just realized that this is a fisherman, not a farmer. Alright, how many of you were screaming at me down in the comments that that was the wrong hat? I know. And I got these villagers in their cell off camera before going ahead and trading with them to get the advancement what a deal. And what a deal indeed, because we are already working on another villager trading stall, and that transition made no sense, but I said it anyway. So yeah, I went for acacia on this. I don't know why, it just seemed like a good theme to go with. I don't know. And you know what else I don't know is why I spend so much time in all of these videos working on villager stuff. If you're still here at this point, you probably already noticed that this whole video is pretty much just going to be developing villager infrastructure. So yeah. I don't know why I spend so much time on this stuff, but I just can't help myself. Speaking of helping myself, I'll help myself to some of those juicy green emeralds and some of these orange stringy pumpkins, I guess? I don't know. I want pumpkins anyway, just to trade with villagers to get emeralds, because I can then use the emeralds to buy stuff from the villagers. I want money. I don't understand why this is such a difficult concept for you to grasp. Speaking of concepts to grasp, I need to grasp the concept of how to not begin every sentence with speaking of. Speaking of which, we need something to speak of, so I'm going to speak of this that I'm working on, which is another little villager trading stall type market thing. I don't know what we're calling these things. Give me a good name down in the comments. Anyway, this one is going to be cobblestone and oak, and just again switching up the block palette every little bit with each one of these, and I think it looks kind of nice. It's a nice bit of contrast with the orange we got of the acacia right next to it. And while we're on the topic of acacia, I am chopping down a whole bunch of trees here because, well, I like having trees, I like having wood, I like having resources. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just chopping these down so that I have wood to put in a chest. And once all those trees were chopped down, I needed something to put in their place, so I went around waging war on this grass before planting some saplings, and I put these all in a grid. I am soon going to learn that putting spruce saplings in a grid like this does not work like it does for other types of trees. That is not something I knew before now. Something I did know, however, is the fact that you can trade up villagers to get basically infinite resources and save yourself a lot of diamonds, so I traded this guy up to where he could buy iron from me. I then sold him a bunch of iron to level him up again and get emeralds in the process, which I could then turn around and use to buy my first diamond tool, which was a diamond hoe. And here I am celebrating. I am very excited about this hoe. I have no idea what I'm going to use it for, but I'll find a use. One thing I do definitely have a use for is bone meal, so I decided to set up a little temporary compostificating machine with some hoppers and some chests, and here we can just dump all of our organic waste and get some bone meal to use for white dye and whatnot. I also saw this iron golem here, which I promptly swung my axe at until he turned red and fell over. Euphemisms are fun. You know what else was fun? Making emeralds. So I sold that iron to a villager before going ahead and planting some melons, and this is because, yeah, farmers will buy melons. Emeralds. That's all this video is, just 100 days of villager infrastructure, but some of that infrastructure is coming in handy for building other infrastructure because I was already able to put some of that bone meal to use on the melons. And speaking of putting things to use, I put my shovel to use on this hillside here because, well, have you forgotten? Of course you have. I've been rambling for a while. Let me remind you, we want to have this all be stone by the end of the video, and while I don't think I'm going to be able to reach that goal, I want to come as close as I can, and you can just see it melting away. It looks so much nicer. And you know what else is nicer? Diamond tools. So I went ahead and bought myself an efficiency 2 diamond shovel from our villager before not using it. I don't really know why I did all that digging and then bought a shovel just to go ahead and place down a bunch of wooden blocks rather than use it to dig out the rest of the dirt, but that is what I did, so please yell at me in the comments for it. But once you're done yelling at me for that, please praise me for performing my sacred duty as a Minecrafter and unaliving these annoying things. I did it again! Anyway, let's ignore that and celebrate. And how do we celebrate on this channel? By tearing down a villager's home, of course, because they're ugly and inconveniently placed, and I really don't like them, and they're annoying, and I don't like where they are, and they're annoying, and Anyway, on day 47, I found some diamonds, and I was pleasantly surprised to find the ones I stumbled on with an 8 vein. Oh, and also, diamonds! Oh, and also obsidian, but that's not as interesting, so it doesn't get its own funny voice. In fact, it's so annoying, I think I'm just gonna skip over the rest of it. Anyway, on day 49, I chopped down some sugarcane reeds and unalived some cows for their leather so that I could make myself an enchanting table. And make an enchanting table I did. However, after I got it made, I decided immediately that I needed a permanent supply of leather so that I could get some more books for bookshelves to set up a proper enchanting area. So I spotted some cows, jumped off the side of a cliff into some unrealistically shallow water, and then decided I'm sorry, that was supposed to be a Anyway, once I was finished shoveling, I got the cows back to our base and just tied them up to a fence post I had lying around because we don't actually have a pin for them yet, which is what I want to work on next. And I put way too much effort into this pin, way too much thought into it, and the design and the details, and oh, I just go overboard on the smallest things and then don't do enough for the big things. Anyway, I'm getting the cows in there now. I don't know what I'm rambling about, so goodbye. And the next day after the cows were in their pen, I went ahead and pulled a bunch of copper out of the furnaces that had been smelting and punched a whole lot of grass, because that's something I do a lot in this video before placing down the copper to oxidize. So yeah, there it is. I then spent the next several days down in the caves mining for resources and fending off creepers, and the primary resource I wanted to get down here was some redstone, but I also grabbed some gold, diamonds, and iron while I was down there, but I wanted these resources so that I could build a farm. I want to build a melon and pumpkin farm for trading with our villagers. And so here I am on day 56 digging out a spot in the side of our hill for this. I want to have it right next to the staircase, and then I want to build up sort of like a tower building around it. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out, but I'm going to give it a shot. And it occurred to me halfway through building the first layer layer of this farm that it is going to require observers, which is going to require going to the nether, which requires building a nether portal, which requires mining obsidian to build that portal with, and you get the whole thing. I'm complaining about mining obsidian because it is annoying. And on day 59, after getting geared up, I headed into the nether and actually got a surprisingly good spawn on this world. And after getting back to the overworld, I crafted up some observers and got back to work on the farm, and I quickly realized I was only going to have enough resources to complete one layer of this farm, and that's just going to be one layer of melons. I originally wanted to do maybe 2 layers of melons and 2 layers of pumpkins, but these farms are so efficient, I don't really think I'm going to need any more than that. What I am going to need more of, however, is stone. I actually ran out of stone for pistons, and I had a ton of deep slate, but for some reason you can't use those, so I had to go mine some, and after that was done, I could finish the farm. And oh yeah, I'm also using deep slate up here just to get back in the game for forcing me to go mine cobblestone. Why can you not craft pistons with deep slate? I had to pause several times to think of those words. I also had to stop several times and redo the placement of these torches and beginning rails because I have not built anything with rails in a while, alright? Give me a break. They get complicated. They're weird mechanics. Either that, or I just cannot figure out something very simple. Comment below with which one you think it is. My dumb jokes aside, on day 64 I was able to throw the minecart hopper in there and start getting some melon slices. So yeah, the farm's doing its job, and there it is going back and forth. I think it is so fun to do a little Optifine zoom in and watch the minecarts go back and forth. I have very simple tastes.
You see, I'm a guy of simple taste.
And speaking of taste, I went to a nearby village and raided their vegetable supply because I need them for my next project, which is a villager breeder. This is the same villager breeder I used in my last 100 days video. It's a design I really like. It's by Roamer GFX, and I followed a tutorial on it by Shulkercraft. I actually personally prefer Zoomovoid's design, which is sort of a diagonal diamond shape, and it doubles as a crop farm. However, that is quite a bit more complex to set up. It takes a little bit longer, so I figured to save time for working on this video, we will go with this design, which works just as well. It just doesn't have the added functionality of also being a crop farm. And on day 69, I got to work moving the villagers into their new home, and I started off by boating them over to the area where the stairs go up before moving those boats into a minecart, because yeah, that's something in Minecraft that definitely makes plenty of sense. You can put a boat inside of a smaller minecart and then send that along the ground. That makes total sense, yes. And on day 71, I got to put some of that bone meal from our little mini farm to use and harvested a whole bunch of crops, enough that I was able to fill up the rest of the villager breeder before just doing a bunch more with all the bone meal I had left and filling up the villagers' inventories. Also, cow murder! And I went on that cow killing escapade to get leather to put with paper, to make books, to make bookshelves, because I wanted to make an enchanting area, and I decided to put that in a room off to the side of this staircase. Also, our villager breeder's working, so yay for that. And also, I decided to go get some sheep and build them a pen next to the cows because, well, I needed to just get myself another distraction. And what a distraction it was. I spent nearly 2 days of this video just getting these sheep in a pen, and I don't even know that I have a use for the sheep, so yeah. But I did at least use one piece of that wool to make some string to make a bow with that I could then use to make a dispenser that I could put in our little villager breeder collection area to make a little automated sort of pickup system, and that completes that project. And we are now officially on day 75 of this video, yay! And what better way to kick off the final quarter of this video than by building an iron farm. And once again, this is the same iron farm design I used in my previous 100 days video. It is a design, I believe, by Logical Geek Boy. Always love Logical Geek Boy's farm designs. He makes great stuff. Everyone knows Logical Geek Boy makes phenomenal farms. I don't know why I'm telling you this. But what I will tell you is that I normally skip the part of getting a scarificator into the chamber, but I figured I'd show this part on camera in this video because it is just so annoying. And little bit of a spoiler alert, this is not going to be the only time we have to do this, but it will be the only time I show it on camera. It is that annoying. Something else that's annoying is that I did not actually breed up any sheep in preparation for this project, so I wound up having to go out and kill a bunch of wild sheep for the wool for the beds on this project. So yeah, I basically wasted all my time getting those sheep and building that pen, but what was not a waste of time is this iron farm, I promise you. Oh, Wait, it's right directly in front of our base? Yeah, that's right. I'm probably going to want to move this at some point later in the future. So yeah, that's fun. I also tried to use this little activator rail trick that's in the tutorial that I've never actually used before. I'm not sure if there's been a redstone change or if I just didn't do it correctly because, let's be honest, I've never used activator rails before. But for some reason it did not work, and I wound up resorting to just sending the villagers right up to their beds in the minecart and then kind of walling off an area and breaking the minecarts. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, has there been a change since that tutorial came out, or do I just not know how activator rails work? Because I think it might be both. Farm works. Okay, not really. And in case you were wondering, I also cannot do a water bucket clutch, because in case you can't tell, that was almost the end of the video right there. Okay, so I lied. Alright, let's get back to some building. I want to have a bridge coming right by our iron farm, which again, I am going to have to move, but that's not the point right now. I want to have a tower at the other end of this bridge, and building it was a little bit precarious because I needed to make sure that nothing could spawn on it, not only in the future, but also as I was building it. And I went for a little bit of a slab wall variation, still doing the polished granite with the mud bricks, and I think this just goes together so well, especially with the little bit of a tweak of turning the polished granite into polished granite bricks. I think it looks so nice, and also it happened again. I am about to get so sick of this iron farm. And I'm also about to switch gears again. I seem to have a little bit of builder's ADD. And remember earlier when I talked about some foreshadowing with this build? Well, here it is. It's time to build the big granite box around our melon farm, and this is not coming along as well as I had hoped. It's even worse because I decided to make this an even number of blocks. You never build an even number of blocks across. You always want it odd so that you can have a center. I broke that rule on this build. Another rule I broke on this build is, it's not good. We'll just put it that way. I kind of made it up as I went along. I had a general idea that this is what I wanted to do ahead of time, but I just didn't really know what I was doing, and it really reflects in this build. I mean, nothing in this world is particularly the prettiest, but this is definitely the most slapped together. I even had to go back and add a little bit more trim around the edges and extend the roof because it just looked so flat as with the surface of this walls, and it's not good. I am going to complain about this a lot because I spent a lot of time working on this, and it is probably about the ugliest thing about this entire base. Everything else I'm pretty happy with. That, however, did not turn out well at all. I am really harping on this point, so I will just stop blawing about that and get on with building another villager trading stall. And this stall is going to be for an armorer, because this video is almost over, in case you haven't taken a peek at the top left corner or the bottom right of the YouTube video in a while. Yes, this video is coming to an end, and I am still rocking diamond and gold armor, and I figure it's time that we get some diamond stuff, so I'm setting up this little stall here for an armorer, and I really abandoned all color palettes here and just threw a little bit of everything in. And after a little bit of trading up, I finally got this guy to the point where I could sell him iron, which I did to trade him up even more, and then bought some shields with the emeralds from that iron before getting some diamond armor. Finally, we're only on day 98 of this video. Finally getting some iron armor. But here we are getting all geared up, and I am doing the obligatory zoom in and punch at the camera. Yay, excited, woo! And on day 99, I decided to end things with a bang by working on a little bit of a path area. I went for some coarse dirt, path blocks, mud, gravel, really going for some beat down path looks here, and that's the last thing we're gonna build. And that is because you can see that it is now day 100 of this world. And with all that done, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing, and I will see you again in the next video. Goodbye!